And now, here's your host of Shaping Success, Wes Tankersley.
What is up, everyone? Welcome to Shaping Success. I'm your host, Wes Tankersley. We are back for an awesome part two of this interview that I have recently done. We have Craig Daigle back. In the first episode, we talked a little bit about some physical violence and abuse he suffered during his first marriage. And now we're moving on to like what he's doing with that now and where he's going. He's a coach. He's a Beachbody coach. He's doing a lot of stuff, and he's trying to just make it better for everyone else and build himself up. And so let's keep this going. So here is part two of Shaping Success with Craig Daigle. Craig, what is happening, man?
What's going on, Wes? Good to be back again, brother. Good to be back.
Yeah, we talked last time. We talked a little bit about your situation before, and so everyone can go back and listen to part one about that because it was a really good episode. And unfortunately, with me, like when I'm doing these, like today is actually Saturday. The last time was a Wednesday, I believe, and I got to go to work, so I can't sit here and talk for like 2 hours because it could have gone pretty long. We had a lot of good shit to talk about.
Absolutely.
So we left off. We kind of got through your situation with your previous marriage, and we're kind of moving on now into like the coaching and things like that. And you started talking a little bit about, you're working out, and when you thought you were going to die after you and went out, and it kind of just changed your life.
Yeah.
You did the workout on the TV, and you started going from there. So where did we go from there?
Yeah, man. That morning, December 1st, and I hope I mentioned it on the podcast earlier. And if I didn't, let's hit it again. I kept telling myself that was the hardest 25 minutes of my life, around 400 plus pounds, not being able to breathe, not being able to do what they were doing. But something kept telling me like, no, being overweight, depressed, unhealthy, anxious, miserable, that was hard 24 hours a day. That was the hard. And at this point, like that morning, I chose my hard, and my hard was to work out, right? And, being a single dad at the time of two boys, I was on the verge of losing my apartment. I was on the verge of having my car repossessed. I couldn't keep the lights on. I couldn't keep food on the table. I really didn't know what was next. I just knew, regardless of all of my bills, if I wasn't alive, I couldn't pay them anyways. So
Right.
I needed to be alive first, and then we needed to figure everything else out. And that's kind of like I didn't wake up that morning and decide, hey, you know what? I want to motivate other people and coach other people. No, like coaching people, helping people, sharing my story, like all of those things were the last thing on my mind. Like that was not something that I even entertained at that point.
Well, how can you help other people if you can't help yourself, right? You got to figure out when you can help yourself and how you're going to make that happen, right?
Exactly. And I didn't know how to help myself still at that point. So I started losing weight. I woke up every morning. I woke up every morning and I did a workout. I did an at-home workout in my tiny living room of my 2-bedroom apartment.
Wait, are you saying that you didn't need a big space to do a workout? Is that what you're saying?
Man, I swear I had like a 5 foot by 5 foot area. I was a slob, bro. Like I was such a mess. My kids had their toys everywhere. It was a hit or miss if I had like that death walk on Legos on my way to the
it's the worst.
on the way to the living room. Yeah, you don't need, the biggest thing is that's just one of many excuses, right? That people use to not change things in their life is, I don't have the space. I don't have the money. I don't have the time. I'm not capable of doing that. I can't do what you do. I've been doing this for 7 years, man. I said it all. So now I've heard it all resaid back to me, right?
And it's still there though, right? Like, I mean, I think that one of the biggest things that people think is that it's easy to just like, hey, this is it. You still have in your head, hey, I'm going to go eat that cheeseburger. Hey, I'm not going to work out today.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, I'm not going to do the work today, right?
Oh, 100%. Our journey is not a straight line. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. There are so many ebbs and flows. Like, I've been at my lowest weight. I've gained weight back over the 7 years. I've gotten comfortable. I've been remarried. I could throw so many different. I worked nights for 2 years. I still get excuses or try to utilize any what we call reasons to take our foot off the gas when we're doing things in our own life that betters ourselves. But at the end of the day, and one of my biggest reminders to myself is there is nothing on this planet that tastes better than healthy feels. And like when I was my healthiest, man, I was happy. I had more energy. I slept better. I didn't have to fight with acid reflux. I could run around with my kids and not need to stop for a minute and catch my breath. There's so many different things that fall into it. And it's like, I remember just that first month of working out every single day, not just focused on me. And I'm sharing my journey. I'm sharing it with other people. And mostly I was just sharing it on social media because I knew if I called myself out publicly, that the type of man that I am, not just the human being, but the type of man that I am, I feel like a man is only as good as his word. And for a good portion of my life, I realized that I didn't respect myself enough to keep my word to myself. Like, Wes, if we lived close by and you were like, "Hey, man, I need help moving a couch tomorrow. Can you come by?" And I told you I was going to move your couch with you, I would be there and move your couch. If my boss asked me, "Can you work Saturday?" I would work Saturday. I'd be there. "Hey, can you come in early tomorrow?" I would come in early tomorrow. But there's some level of when we tell ourselves that we're going to eat healthy, or we tell ourselves that we're going to start exercising again, or start a podcast, or write a book. I mean, you can literally put anything in there. It's so easy for us to talk ourselves out of doing something that we said we'd do for ourselves, because there's this root lack of respect that we have for ourselves. And it's hard to figure out where it stems from. It could be your childhood. It could be from when you were in school. Some teacher told you that you would amount to anything. Whatever it is that you're holding on to, that label that somebody put on you, number one, it's not true. And number two, it doesn't serve you anymore. Like, we need to pull that root. And that's where, real change really starts to happen. And
Right.
when I started pulling that root, that really helped me, because I was, oh, nobody's going to want to be with an overweight, divorced dad of two who's miserable. And like, all these things went through my head. And it wasn't true. None of it was true. And, going through domestic violence and verbal abuse and having things said to you, yes, they're just words. Yes, I could say that they didn't affect me, but I still heard them.
Yeah.
And your mind doesn't differentiate the difference between positive or negative words, true or untrue words. They just recognize words.
Right.
And a lot of times our language will dictate how we feel. We can literally speak how we feel into fruition by constantly saying it. Like, by constantly putting ourselves down, we'll be in a negative state.
Right.
By constantly using weak language, we will be in a weak state.
That's one of
You
those
can
things that
literally change it.
I think about a lot. Like, if you are in a negative headspace, you're gonna feel that way, and you really think about like anything. I follow this guy on TikTok who talked about like your bills being something that you think of as a negative thing, but without that bill, you're not provided the thing you need. So like, I need electricity to do what I'm doing, so I have to pay that bill. It provides me with the ability to do what I'm doing. Like, yes, it's a negative thing when you get your paycheck and you're like, oh, there goes $80 right there, or whatever it is, But on the same situation, what does it provide for you? And it's amazing if you start like looking at every single part of your life that way.
100%. I mean, if you were homeless, you wouldn't have that bill, but you also wouldn't have a home, right?
Yeah.
Like full spectrum. It's like, man, it's so crazy. But
I
yeah,
think
man,
that a heater's a little bit better than a newspaper.
100%, dude. That's what I'm saying. Like, no rain on you all the time, not having to fight the elements, not wondering where your next meal. Like, there's so many things. Like, you can. That's saying that somebody's always got it worse. It's true. And I think about that. I think about that so much because as cliche as it is, I like to say that I do it every morning. I probably don't do it every morning, but any morning that I wake up, with the recognition of being grateful for another day because we're not promised tomorrow. Um, I have this routine that I just say, thank you, God, for these legs to get me out of bed. Some people don't have that opportunity
Yeah.
today. Thank you for another day alive. There are people that have not been blessed with this opportunity. Thank you for the capability to go out and make my day better. Thank you for the mental capacity to be able to change things and to have the thoughts that I have. And thank you for all the blessings that I have now and those that I have yet to receive. And then I just kind of start my day, and I'm like, because man, no matter how bad my day gets, I'm blessed. I am. I'm blessed because at the end of the day, I could have died in 2015. I could still have been living through domestic violence and not gotten out of it. Um, just being able to help other people. And, I remember that first month just sharing, like I said, on social media and basically doing it to hold myself accountable.
Right.
It had little to do with anybody else. But the interwebs, the interwebs are a weird place, man. And even more so the last few years, everything that is shared or posted is scrutinized, or like even just network marketing alone, which is
Right.
something that I spoke poorly of for years before I got involved and understood it better. There's just so much scrutiny to it. So that first month, dude, people were commenting on my stuff, being like, "You're not going to last. This is going to be a good solid week for you. Like to see you make it to 2 weeks." Like some of it was like negative, and some of it was like people close to me, dude, like
Yeah.
friends. Like, yeah, we bust each other's chops, and guys break each other's balls and stuff, and it's like, it's all a jest, and it's fun, and we're joking. But at the end of the day, some of it's not joking. Some of it is like speaking the truth that they see out loud about you, and whether you laugh it off and think that it's a joke, and it still affects you.
Yeah, well, I think I think one of the things that's a real good tool for that too, and I'm sure you think this way too, is like understanding where they're coming from. I think that's something that I've like completely looked at in my life recently. Like I'm listening to a book on negotiation right now, trying to be a better salesman, and seeing it from the other person's point of view, why they're saying what they're saying, and a lot of times it comes from a place of like they're just scared to do it themselves, or they're not ready to make that move, and they're jealous of what's going on. Here's Craig, he was 400 pounds. He's lost 50 pounds in a month or
Yeah.
whatever. And he's busting his ass and he's showing people he's trying to keep himself consistent. He's trying to build something. Well, let's knock him off that high horse so that I don't look so bad, And
Yep.
I think that's where a lot of that comes from. And it's sad, and it gets easier, right? But the hard part is like being able to understand that. And I think, you still sometimes take things to heart, but understanding the fact that it's not really about you, it's about them.
Absolutely. And the quicker that we come to that realization, the easier it is for us. And the people that will say the most are the people closest to us, because again, they come from where we come from, and they're not doing anything about it themselves. Right. You are 100% spot on, Wes. It's without saying the obvious part out loud, it's jealousy, right?
Yeah.
It's jealousy. It's envy. They're envious that you're able to take your mindset and switch it from where they are, because when it's close friends and family, you guys tend to think alike,
Yeah.
be from the same places, and if they're not doing it, the easiest way for them to justify them not doing it is to wait for you to fail and want you to fail so they could say, "Ha, that's why I didn't do that with you. I knew you were going to do that."
And then now, hey, now you're back here with me. Now we're back on the same level again because you failed, and here we go. So now we can be friends again. And then
Misery,
yeah.
right?
Remember
Misery enjoys
when
company.
you tried that one time? That was just stupid.
Yep.
It's that's the thing. Like I think that's a great lesson. It's just like just figure that out because you are who you hang out with, right? So I'm gonna say this, like I'm assuming that you probably knew some people around domestic violence. You probably knew some people who were in the same type of situation you were in. You probably hung out with them and they had choices, right? And you took the choice to better yourself and get out of that situation. And they could be still stuck in it, or they could still be just dealing with that situation and not in a place, but just jealous of the fact that you could get out of it, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it was the craziest thing. So that first month, I knew that I needed to do something. I knew that what I was doing was working, and I knew that it was going to come to a cost. And as I mentioned before, I was a single dad, um, full time with two sons. And, when I say that, I don't say this lightly, or I don't say this to be like, it was harder for me than it is for other people. If you're a single parent, it's hard, period.
Yeah.
My family lived 3,000 miles away, my immediate family. So if I had a sick kid, I wasn't calling my mom to go swing by the school to pick up my kid.
Yeah.
You know, I did have some people that I used emergency purpose only if needed, and I tried not to use them because I never knew when I would have no one, because it was literally just me.
Yeah.
It was just me full time, and I knew that I had to do something, and I had at the time I only had that one workout, and it was DVDs. There was no online, sweat flicks where you could pick a program and
Yeah.
do it. They didn't have that back then. It was DVDs, and they had supplements. And I was like, you know what? My sister, in December, at the end of December, she had sent me a bag of their superfood supplements. It's a total nutrition supplement, it's a meal replacement, and that was a game changer for me because that helped me learn a little bit about nutrition. And getting that, it came with some basic nutrition stuff, because even back then they didn't offer the nutrition programs that they offer now. So I was kind of like going and figuring it out as I go. And I mean, we all know, I don't care who you are, where you live, what's healthy to eat and what's not within
Right.
reason. Here, like
Yeah.
you don't need to be a nutritionist to know that there's a lot of stuff that you buy at the store that you probably shouldn't have in your house, that we probably shouldn't be eating.
Yep.
If it's not fresh, it's probably not as good for you. So, like, I knew I had a pretty good idea, but convenience, price, things like that affected me. And I at the time, I didn't qualify for food stamps. I was, I made just a little bit too much, but not enough to pay my bills. And I was receiving WIC stamps for my youngest son, who was about to age out of that program. And I basically made $8 a month for produce last. Couple gallons of milk, some yogurt, some bread. I stretched that out between myself and two boys. On top of, I did buy some groceries. And it was January of 2016, and I'm like, how am I going to continue this momentum?
Right.
And I'm about to lose my apartment. The lights are about to be shut off. I'm about to get my car repossessed. Like, everything's about to go away. And here I am, like this ray of sunshine in my own life, just kind of getting up every day and being positive about it and being like, you know what? God's going to provide. So at some point, God's going to provide. And I knew that I needed to continue with that supplement because it was a game changer for me. Basically it was a meal a day for like $4, and it helped me stay full, and it was putting nutrients in my body that I wasn't getting.
Right.
So I took my credit card that had like the last $145 on it, and I did the scariest thing ever. That was like emergency purposes for food. And I went and I signed up to be somebody who represented the company as a network marketer, and got myself more supplements and a new workout program. And I immediately after I got it was about to send it back and get a refund, because I needed the money at the time. And my friends at the time that was surrounding me, knowing that I was doing this, the community of people that are associated with Body and Beachbody, they basically just said, hey man, like you could pay it forward by helping other people get started. And I remember, man, some of my best friends, one of their wives told me like, oh, you're a coach now? I know a dozen of those, because I did the customary network marketer thing of 7 years ago and made a post and was like, oh, I just signed up to be with this company. I'm a representative. If you need help, that was before people understood that people don't work with you to work with the company you represent. They work with you because of you.
Yep.
And that's really what makes me different from other coaches in our network is people work with me. They don't do it to work with the trainers we have or the nutrition programs. They do it to work with my experience and the tough love that I give to them with accountability and support. But she told me, she's like, you're too fat to coach people. I know a bunch of them. You're never going to be successful. All the things. And I remember that was the moment. It was 2 months of my journey. That was the moment when I realized I was like, oh yeah, well bet, watch this. Like,
yeah,
that's fine. I'm because I knew that this person was comfortable with me to be able to speak how they honestly felt, that if they felt that way, there was a good opportunity that a lot of other people on my social media and in my life thought the same thing.
right.
And I say, you know what? If that's the case, I need to do something about this. I have a lot of people to prove wrong. And that month, it was that first month, because I signed up to be a representative in the end of January. By the end of February, my lights were paid, my car payment was made, and my rent was paid for the first month. And that helped really show me, the financial stance between having another stream of income, but doing it because I was helping other people better their life. And don't get me wrong, like I was not money driven at that point. I was survival driven. So for me, I didn't care if I made another dollar. If I helped one person better their life, whether it was get out of a environment they didn't belong. And by environment, I mean a physical environment, a relationship, a headspace. If I helped somebody get out of an environment they didn't belong, then I was doing good in the world. And 7 years now, that's all I've done. Like I literally go and I speak at events and I share my story, I share my life, I share my experiences, because experiences are best learned secondhand. If I can teach somebody how to not have to go through some of the things that I went through by doing some of the other things that I've done,
Yep.
all the better. All the better. Like, it's incredible, man, to see how you can teach other people from your mistakes and use your mess as a message.
So these speaking engagements, though, like, you're talking about Beachbody is a rep that, you work for them, you're a coach for them, but your speaking engagements are separate from that, right? Or they contain that, or how?
Both.
Both.
It's both. So over the last 7 years, I've probably spoken at, I would say, a dozen events with Beachbody and probably a dozen events without them. During the pandemic, it kind of slowed down a little bit because, in-person events were a little bit harder, and I've gone more virtual, doing more podcasts and things like that to just really help other people know that no matter what they're going through right now, it's temporary. By them even just listening to somebody's podcast and hearing that there's hope at the end of the day, like I just want to continue doing that. But I used to speak at events, usually like 1,000 people or whatnot for Beachbody events, local events in and around New England and Boston, New Hampshire. I would go visit some of the live events in Maine. I didn't actually speak at any of the main events, but Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts several times, New Hampshire's. And then I started putting events together. And then I would speak at events about domestic violence and drug abuse. A couple of community outreach events. I would go talk to those. Obviously, it's a different conversation. With Beachbody, it's the whole story.
Right.
With domestic violence events, it's domestic violence and how I circumvented things like that in my life. But, it was crazy. Single dad, I started that stuff in 2015, right? So 2018, I'm just kind of like bebopping along. I'm probably in some of the best shape of my life in 2018. And I'm in a group of 50,000 people, okay, on Facebook. And we are basically the coach launch group of this new program that came out, okay? Because Beachbody comes out with programs every quarter. From the old school Insanity P90X days, there is like 40 to 50 programs now on our online. I call it Sweatflix.
Yeah, it's not a DVD
it's our
anymore.
online fit. No, it's an online fitness library, and it's nutrition. There's a cooking. There's tons of stuff. But anyways, so I'm in this group on Facebook, and I remember at the time I was the dancing dad. Okay, I can't dance, Wes. I got two, bro. I got two left feet. But every morning, so like it was how like things become routine. How like certain people you watch as influences on social media, they have that same routine. Like the video is the same how they started because that's their brand. That's how you know them. Well, my brand in 2018 as a single dad was the dancing dad in his living room before every workout. My warm up was literally some 90s hip hop or R&B, and I would just groove on camera like a 15-second clip, and it became part of my day. And I would always add it to my post in this group. So, anyways, we're going through this program, and I receive a call in the morning from one of my relatives, my mom's twin sister, and I find out that my grandmother, my mother's mother, who had lived alone, she lived alone in a city close by me. And again, I mentioned earlier, my mom lived in Arizona, 3,000 miles away. So I'm kind of like the boots on the ground for my mom, right? Like for family and for events and things like that. My grandmother fell in her apartment on Wednesday. They found her Friday afternoon, still on the floor. They rushed her to the hospital. She had emergency surgery Saturday morning. She had a stroke coming out of anesthesia, and she's basically, we're unsure where things are going at this point. So my mom, it's her mom. My mom's a mess, so I take it upon myself to take the lead, to go there, to be there, to be by the side that I can. So I'm there, and nobody knows, because at the time, even still today, people tell me I am the most public, private person that they know. There's some things that I don't put on social media until I'm either ready to talk about it or I don't talk about it, right? So I'm going through this, but I'm also in this group, and I'm dedicated to the commitment that I put in. So a couple of weeks are going by. My grandmother, she's in and out of whether she has a feeding tube or whatnot. So I'm going back and forth to the hospital. I'm working full time. I'm a single dad of two. I'm working out every single day. I'm doing my dad dancing videos. And then all of a sudden I get a phone call. My grandmother on my father's side was rushed to the hospital. She's got stage 4 lung cancer. So now man, I'm like, I'm kind of a mess, but I was so heavy in personal development at the time that I felt like I had it under control. Like I was a rock. I was solid, right? And I found that out, and that was like on a Thursday. So I went through the weekend, and it was Tuesday morning that next week, and I'm working out 5:45 in the morning. Everybody knows my routine. I always worked out before work. I would get up at the crack ass of dawn before other people even thought of getting out of bed because, again, I didn't make excuses for myself. I knew that if I didn't get out of bed and do it, it wouldn't get done.
Right.
I had to do it when my kids were asleep. Like, this was my routine, right? So the phone starts ringing. I pause my workout. I go answer the phone. It's my aunt, my mom's twin sister. And she says, "You're probably working out." Like, everybody knows that I'm working out. And I'm like, yeah, I'm working out. I'm like, but you don't call me at 5:45 in the morning. What's going on? Like, just give it to me. Let's not play the game of beating around the bush where
Right.
we do small talk, right? And she says, "Your grandfather passed away." And I'm like, man, like I wasn't ready for that one. Like I thought, okay, grandma didn't make it. Like I was preparing myself, you
Right.
know? So I went from prepared to completely unprepared. And I remember I said to her, I said, "All right, let me know what I can do to help and just keep me in the loop of what's gonna happen." Like, timing of things, basically, like
Right.
services, whatnot. And I remember I hung up the phone, and it was in that moment I had a choice. I was like, do I work out? Do I not work out? What do I do? And I remember I I didn't actually like make a decision. I hit play, and it started going, and I was standing there, and then I just started moving again. And this is like something that I tell people all the time. I'm like, just press play, because there's never been a moment in my life where I hit play on a workout and I didn't just do it. There's never been a moment where it's like that saying, "What, full send?" You just send it, like just go, like just press play.
Right.
I got done my workout, Wes, and I went into this group of 50,000 people, and you know, I didn't post my normal post, um, and I didn't share what was going on. Nobody knew. Nobody knew in a network of 500,000 people, where everybody knew who I was. Everybody knew me as, the single dad who's changing his life, who at the time had lost, 145 pounds, speaking at events, doing all these things, traveling around the country. Nobody knew the pain that I was going through in the middle of my journey when I was at some of the best health of my life, right? So I posted in the group and I wrote, "Nobody knows what your battles are. Whatever it is that you're going through, do yourself a favor today and just dance through the music." And I posted my dancing clip. And I didn't go on social media at all that day. And in a group of 50,000 people, of where you're, a popular person or somebody that is followed and inspired and empowered by many, there were a lot of comments. There were a lot of people, prayers up, thinking about you, caring about you, hope you're all right. Because they knew something was wrong. They just didn't know what was wrong.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, there was this there was this comment that was about this big on there. And I'm like, who took the time to, like, I had to read it, because the rest of them were like a few words or a line.
Yeah.
And I remember reading it, and I didn't know who this woman was. It was this absolutely gorgeous little profile picture, and it basically just said, "Dear Father of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the great I am, please shine your face upon this man. You know, give him your eyes to see, your ears to hear, and your heart and your mind for understanding and patience. Please take him through this storm and help him dance through this battle any way that you see fit." And and I'm paraphrasing, but it was that intentional.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I got to reach out to this woman and thank her, because that meant so much to me. Like, that was what I needed at the time. That was
Right.
exactly what I needed. So I reached out to the woman, and she had a Facebook profile that had this one picture of herself, and then a plate of food, because we're coaches and we share our nutrition. It was the typical stereotypical page of somebody who was working with our network, of what was on the page, like the graphics wise and all these things. And I'm like, man, am I being catfished by somebody right now? Like, is this a real person? And I remember I sent a message, and I was like, look, I don't know who you are, never met you before in my life. I don't know if I can even express how much your words meant to me. You don't know what I'm going through. That really means a lot to me. If I can ever pay you back or take you for coffee, I don't even know where you live, because the page had nothing. It was basically a bare page with like 40 friends, a profile picture, and a plate of food. That
Yeah.
was it. And they wrote back, and I had sent a voice clip just saying, with my voice, because at the time it was when I really learned how important a video clip or a voice clip in a message was, versus just sending text without any emotion.
Yeah, you lose
So
the
I sent
context of the whole situation because you can't hear the inflection in the voice or the facial
exactly.
expressions. I hate typing.
It's me too. So after I had sent the typed message, I had sent a voice clip, and I basically just said, look, if you live near me, I would love to buy you a cup of coffee and just thank you and get to meet you, and just let you know maybe what I have going on, because it shows that you actually care.
Yeah.
And I got this voice clip back, and it was this this very petite, like, I thought for sure it was a 40-year-old man in the Middle East somewhere. Like, I was waiting for it, with
Yeah.
like a big beard. I got this voice clip back of this like very petite, soft spoken woman with at the time what sounded like some type of a Western or a Southern drawl. And I'm like, this woman lives nowhere near me. There is no possible way.
She doesn't live in Oklahoma, does she?
She does. She does. And I remember I was like, can we get on a call? And we got on a call, and man, I talked to her every single day from that moment on about everything. And she told me that she originally wrote out that prayer, and not knowing what somebody's relationship is with God, or what they believe, what religion they walk in, what God they pray to, if
Right.
they pray, that stepping out like that was scary. And she had deleted it the first time that she wrote it, and something told her to go back and write it again, and she did. And I'm so glad that she did, because months and months and months had gone by, and I got invited to speak at an event in Indianapolis, Indiana, which the story gets even funnier, because me coming from New England as a New England Patriots fan, Tom Brady fan, and I was a fan before they won things,
Yeah.
guys. So anybody listening to this, like, I was a fan when Flutie and Bledsoe ran them. Anyways, so Indianapolis Colts are like the biggest rivals, and the stadium that I'm going to go to speak at is Lucas Oil Stadium, which
Oh
is
man.
Indianapolis, Indiana, and they have this giant statue of Peyton Manning out front too, by the way. So, and I'm like, It's like, and I love Peyton Manning. I think he's a great quarterback. And like, I had, um, that fanfare of being able to go to these NFL stadiums and to speak. And I'm like, man, but she was headed to the event as well. And we met at the event. Um, So I ended up speaking at that event. It was a 4-day event. I was one of the keynote speakers as a success story. I shared my story to 30,000 people in attendance, and we were broadcast live across 4 countries. And I was with my now wife at the time there, as friends, and as we weren't anything. I wanted her to be my wife, my girlfriend, and all those things, but um no, she wasn't having it. But I knew going into it, now this is how scary it was for me. I knew I was going to see her there, and I wasn't going to see her again for, I don't know, and I didn't know what was going to happen. I went there with the intentions to propose to her at the event before I flew home. And on June 24th, the morning of June 24th, I was like, hey, you want to go watch the sunrise? And we recorded the sunrise out in front of Lucas Oil Stadium. And the whole time I'm sitting on the steps staring at Peyton Manning going, man, you're going to watch this whole thing unfold, you stone bastard. And she didn't know. I had my GoPro set up to catch the time lapse over the city of the sunrise, but I also had my cell phone there to set up, for pictures and whatnot. And I was recording the whole time, and the sun started coming up, and I just dropped on my knee and asked her to marry me, and she did say yes. Obviously, I'm in Oklahoma.
Yep.
We we have a child together. We have a 3-year-old son. Um, she moved to the East Coast with me for about a year and a half, and then we decided in 2019 to move here. It was closer to the end of 2019 when I got to Oklahoma, and it was just absolutely been bananas ever since. But
You have not assimilated though, because you still have the accent. So you're
I,
gonna have to work on this.
it's, I'll drop a y'all every now and then, but you can tell it's a Boston
You can,
y'all.
yeah,
It's
you can
not
hear
like
it.
it's not a Oklahoma. And it's funny too when I meet people out here. They're like, "Where are you from?" And I'm like, "What do you mean? I don't sound like I'm from Oklahoma?" And they laugh. And I'm like, I'm from far east Oklahoma. I'm from Boston, Oklahoma area, and because nobody really knows the small town in New Hampshire that is 30 minutes north of Boston over the Massachusetts border that I actually grew up in.
Yeah.
So I just say Boston, and people are like, I know where you're from. So, but yeah, I grew up. I was born in Massachusetts, but I grew up on the border. Spent a lot of time in and around, Massachusetts, and going to Celtics games in Boston and things like that. But
Yeah.
but yeah, I don't know that. I mean, I moved here just before I turned 40, so I don't think that you can work 40 years of New England out of somebody, but we'll
Right.
see.
Well, yeah, we'll find out. We'll check back in 10 years and see if you riding a horse.
I will ride the crap out of a horse. No, but I don't know that the accent will go anywhere.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to go anywhere.
You
But
got to
yeah,
say
I mean,
yeehaw a few more times and you'll get there.
exactly. I mean, I've been catching up on Yellowstone. If I watch Yellowstone enough, I think that I might be able to merge the two. The
Oh
uh,
man, Craig, this is a great story, and I'm so appreciative for you to come back on a second time and just kind of work us through it. What's next? Why don't you tell us what's next, where we can find you? What do you want people to know?
I mean, man, for me, what's next is to just continue what I'm doing. I don't care if I only help one person. That's the goal. Then my job is done. I just want to continue to share my mess as a message and to let people know that there's hope. I mean, you can find me anywhere, unfilteredlifecoach.com. I'm on Instagram as the official Craig Daigle, just so that somebody doesn't try to be me, because it happens all the time. And then Craig Daigle on Facebook. I have branded myself as the unfiltered life coach over the years, and the main reason is because through the 7 years of me being a coach, I've said it all and I've heard it all, and it's very hard to BS somebody who used to BS people, right? And when I say that I'm the unfiltered life coach, I say that because I'm raw, I'm honest, and I'm unfiltered. Like, I'm not going to filter things for my clients. And trust me, I don't win all the time.
Right.
Not every single one of my clients are successful. The ones that are the most successful, though, have worked with me through that tough love moment of where I'm like, dude, do you hear what you're saying? Do you hear yourself? Like, some of them, the ones that have had the biggest, I mean, I got a woman right now that is in the running for the most coveted award that Beachbody gives for people for their transformation. They're actually segueing and changing it after this year. So she has the potential to be one of the last ones for this award, and it's a transformation award.
Yeah.
She's lost over 165 pounds working with me. She's had brain surgery twice, a hernia surgery. She was in a car accident, and she suffered from preeclampsia after her second birth, but also came home to catch her husband cheating on her. And it's like, that all happened while I've been coaching her.
Mhm.
So for her to go through all this stuff, like, she was in a hospital room after surgery focusing on her nutrition. She wasn't working out. Her and I were working on a meal plan.
Yeah.
Her and I were working on different things together, and she's in the running to win $100,000 this year and share her story. And I'm just so proud of these people. She's probably one of the most coachable people that I've worked with in 7 years, because she asks me a question. I give her, a couple different options, and she picks one and just does it.
Yeah.
She doesn't argue with me. She doesn't fight about it. Because she knows that this is going to work, right? And then some of the other ones that have had the biggest turnaround for me working with me have gotten that tough love where I'm like, stop BSing yourself. Like, the only BS that I want in their life is a belief system.
Yeah.
And if they don't have that, it's very hard to continue on. And I've had people tell me that they're not talking to me after a conversation that we've had. And then they come right back and do some of the biggest things in their life right after that, because it's the realization that, like, I'm not there to, like, hurt people's feelings, and it's not like I'm not being mean to them, but tough love is still love.
Yeah.
It's a matter of being able to take that critique and that criticism. And I for one, need it too,
Yeah.
because I can't help people without knowing how I can change and be better.
Yeah.
So I often ask my clients, I say, is there something that I should stop doing, start doing, or continue doing that you think has been beneficial to you? And those three questions change the game for you. And, the most uncomfortable one for people is stop doing, like, people won't give it. And I tell them, I'm like, look, I'm not going to be mad. I can't change if you don't tell me.
Right.
Is there something that I do that you really want me to stop doing and you'd really like me to start doing more of? And I've gotten some great feedback over the years for that. And, even if they tell me to stop the tough love, it's not going to stop. It just means maybe I need to be more empathetic with that person.
Yeah.
And that's not their language to where they get empowered,
Yep. You just got to find another way to motivate them. And it sounds like that's
Exactly.
what you do. Well, with that, man, I appreciate it. And I just wanted to say thanks again. And we'll definitely have to catch up soon and do this again and see where we are in a couple of years or next year or where it's at, because great conversation.
Absolutely. And, I think that we need to do a Shaping Success live sometime somewhere. Maybe we could do some live Q&A. Let's plan for after you drop these and people get to talk,
I'm
and
down.
we'll generate an audience for a bit, and we'll just do a lot of Q&A, me and you, and we'll bring people on that might have questions stemming from what you and I talked about.
I love it. That's awesome, man. Let's do it for sure.
Sounds good.
All right, man. All right, everyone. Well, thank you again for hanging out with us with this awesome interview with Craig. I wanted to thank Nikki Pavlovich, who is my one and only Patreon right now. You can be a Patreon by going to that link in my bio and signing up. There's a bunch of different levels. Help me grow the show. I can't do it without your help. Until next time, I challenge you to find the shape of your success.